Well, hello everyone. It's Marty from Action Coach again. So today we have the distinct pleasure of having a chance to hear from Brandon Olson, CEO of LowNet Inc. And Brandon, welcome to the show. So glad you took the time to be able to join us today.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Marty, and thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, we are really excited. You've got quite a story. You've been in the finance business for a long time, and based on some of the conversations we've had, you've seen the ups and the lows and everything in between, it sounds like. And so I think this is going to be a really fascinating conversation for the two of us to have that's going to help other people, one, just to get to know what this finance business is all about and how you survived the ups and the downs over the years. But I just think having a chance just to start with how your journey itself started. Can you tell us and the listeners a little bit about where did this LowNet Inc. start and how did that journey begin?
Absolutely. So number one, well, I first started with finance and auto finance, and you work, 60 hours a week, but you're there last person to be there, first person in, last person out. If somebody comes in at 9 o'clock at night, you're waiting to see if they're going to buy a car or not. And doing that over 10 years, it just starts weighing on you. You miss all kinds of Saturday weddings and like all kinds of events. And I was like, I got to do something different. And so I turned to mortgage because what do? I've done finance, and I said, well, I know how to read credit, I know how to sell and finance overall. Let's go to that where you can make good money in it. So I found a team, got my license, quit, and went to doing mortgage, and just learned and could see the real potential right off the bat. Had a great mentor in Steve Furlong. He was president of MMA even. So Minnesota Mortgage Association. And just a great guy overall. Taught me how the business works and showed me how his team works and kind of just learned from there. And when I started my first team, that's where I got
That's
the
where I
idea
got.
for LowNet. Because I was actually, the funny thing is, I was, buying leads or going to pay for leads, and they're super expensive and they're not great. Online leads are typically sometimes low credit scores. You buy a ton of them, it costs so much money. So you have to convert, and it's a lot of work. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do it. And this is 2018, 2019, and video is starting to really play in the social media. So I thought, well, what can we do? And I mean, honestly, I literally was going to build the Tinder for loan officers.
Oh,
And
wow.
where you find a loan officer you like to swipe right, like find a local loan officer, low player cards for loan officers, what they do, specialize, so forth. You want to work with them or not, blah, 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 right? And we'll connect. So that's what I was going to do. But um, then it's kind of the cart before the horse. It's going to cost a lot of money to build that and get people on it. It's going to take forever. So what can we do versus that? So we built a SaaS company, and we put an all-in-one tool for loan officers to be in originating loans every day. So pipeline management to video chat with pre-qualifying dynamic forms that no one else has. And we're focused on, our AI piece of it now. So when we talk to a client, we're going to start collecting all that information, and AI is going to literally tell us what programs we should be using, what conditions we have to clear, and do all of that day one. That's our ultimate goal. We're not quite there yet, but we have the MVP, we have our AI prototype. It's been a long journey to get to here, but it's been pretty amazing, actually.
So, I mean, that covers a lot of ground. And, but it sounds like you were in kind of that cutting edge space. You said 2018, right? I mean, the world has changed in that, 5 year period of time. I mean, the pandemic, of course,
100%.
was a game changer in so many different ways. But then you mentioned AI, and that in just months has been like years of, traditional software development has taken place, and you're already incorporating it into your business. That's fantastic. So, is this? How would you describe this? Is this for the consumer benefit in terms of their ability to be able to identify and select a quality loan officer?
Well, so to get away from that a little bit, this is for loan officers, where it's a SaaS product for loan officers to use with their clients, right? Eventually down the road, will we turn into lead generation once we get thousands of loan officers on it? Yes. But for right now, it's more of an individual licensed loan officer uses our product to manage their entire pipeline and actually contact management system. Like, I didn't set out to build a CRM because there's so many out there. But once we started taking everything in, now we are, right? So it's more focused on the loan officer to work with their clients, but it's a benefit for the consumer. It's a benefit for loan officers. We built it to a degree where a brand new loan officer could start tomorrow, pick up our platform and speak with a client and look like a consummate professional, right? And be able to, I know what it was like when I started. I was shaky on the phone, you had these scripts you had to follow. This, because it's such a visual, video-based platform, that you're both going through the same thing at the same time, and it's all dynamic. So to answer your question, I know I go roundabout in here, but to answer your question, it is meant to reduce lending costs, shorten up timeframes from application to approval, provide better customer experience, and and train loan officers in.
Okay. So your target market then is the loan officers. And does it matter if they're kind of work for as independent mortgage brokers kind of thing, or is it even for some of the bigger mortgage companies? Where's a good fit for this?
So our initial demographic is we're going after the brokers, the individual licensed loan officers that work for maybe the smaller companies that don't have these huge tech stacks out there.
Okay.
And technology is expensive, and the small loan lenders can't afford it, cannot afford it. They all say they want AI, but they all say they cannot afford it at the same time. And we're building it in a way, and because we're a small company, we're building in a way that is affordable for the the individual loan officer to be able to purchase this on their own. Now, we want to get to an enterprise solution down the road.
Okay, so it could be a single user or it could be a 10 loan officer broker office,
Team.
that kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's great. So awesome. So all right. So it's new and it's you may be in even a place where you're being really careful about what you're sharing about what the future looks like. But where does the journey go? What does it look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now? What does it look like for you and Lonet to get to where you want to go?
Yeah. So, it's always one step at a time. You got to crawl before you walk and before you run, right? So, yeah, obviously, when you start out as a business owner or an entrepreneur, a lot of times you think about like, oh, this big exit, right? And you always have to do this, specifically when you start raising cash. They want to know where your exit is too, right? And they want to know how are we going to get there in the first place. So, 5 to 10 years, I mean, ideally, if it goes the trajectory I want it to go, could we be, another Rocket Mortgage, but done in a different way,
Hmm.
where we actually start funding loans ourselves? Maybe,
Hmm.
right? And potentially using stuff like that. But, reality of the situation is if we grow to where we want to grow right off the bat, we're going to have people probably knocking on our doors to buy us and acquire us and things like that, which is good. And if you ever read Zappos, the book about Zappos, and they had like 3 offers, they went partying every single time, and literally said, "No, we can't sell," and then sold for a couple $1 billion, right? But the first offer was like $2 million. So it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it sounds like you've got a pretty clear vision of what you have and what you want to get, as well as the options that could come up depending on kind of what happens. I'm guessing with the business itself, the adoption, but probably market driven too. Being in the mortgage space, how does that affect the maybe even the current environment that we're in today? How does that affect your business, or does your service actually improve it for those loan officers that are using the tool?
Yeah, so that's what we really focused on. To be honest, I was actually wanted to release and do a launch in 2022. And we had with our just initial base product, our core product, which is our video chat. I was just going to sell that service alone and then build from there. But with the current market environment in the last 18 months, what all happened? We shifted from being the busiest we've ever been in the mortgage industry to being like liquidity problems for mortgage lenders, and people being scared of what's going to take place, right? So I decided to let's put the brakes on that and let's build out more of the platform of this product more roadmap we're at and build up more of that piece so that when we do sell the product, we have everybody logging into it and using it every day, all day, right? And not just here and there. So that was the difference. So we focused on doing that, and then we kind of redid some things over the last year from a technology standpoint. So they always say you want to fail fast, right? But in some cases, if you do launch in the wrong time period, that could have been detrimental, right, to our investors, early investors, if we weren't getting the traction because simply the market wasn't ready for it and people weren't ready to spend any additional money than they were already spending. So now we feel like we've got past that main hurdle of the last 12 months, and a lot of lenders have gotten out of the market and so forth. But now we are at a stage where we have that product that we can sell for a good price, and we can get people using it on a daily basis. So we don't have users signing up and then canceling. That was my biggest fear. So understanding that is probably where, it's a tough thing to understand from getting out there and just getting sales and so forth.
Yeah. That's super helpful. So, I mean, given the stage of where you are in the business development cycle, right? I mean, that's still, clear vision is critical. And but having that sounds like you've got a little bit of a crystal ball there in terms of timing. So it sounds like you made some really good strategic decisions along the way. But here's one of the things that I find with the people that watch these interviews, Brandon, and that is there anything that you learned during the process over the past few years that you were like, man, I wish somebody would have told me about this, some kind of challenge, school of hard knocks, whatever the case may be, that you've experienced that you think some of these viewers may be able to benefit from so that they don't have to go through it themselves? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the whole crystal ball thing, right? That comes with a lot of like trial and error knowledge, talking to people, and just knowing personally what's going on in the industry. So, if other people are in similar situations as they're building, as you're growing, as you start out, you're bootstrapping, however you're doing it, and you know, and being persistent and really thinking about it over and over and over and really working hard, like the life of an entrepreneur or a CEO, I mean, the sleep that you don't get is astonishing sometimes, right? And I've met plenty of CEOs that we've talked about it, and we have this a lot of the same problems. But you know, if I could go back, there's a lot of money I could have saved by doing some different things, but you don't know all of that. But what you can do is, I've just forced myself to actually read more, listen to more about audiobooks, and talk to more people, which is easy for me that I'm a talker, obviously. But by doing that, you got to put yourself in the best positions, specifically as you're building a company and building teams and so forth. And then just surrounding yourself with the best available people. I've had to fire some people. I've had, some people come and go that were great over the last 4 years, right? And, but I always want to be like the people that left me, they fired me, right? They left me. I want to get to that launch and be like, hey, see, we did make it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. So that's awesome. Well, I think those tips are really helpful because the people that tend to watch these interviews are ones that either have a specific interest in a particular business idea, concept, a product line, if you will. But a lot of them are coming to watch these interviews simply because they want to learn from others so that they don't have to make the same mistakes themselves. And it just shortens their learning curve as they're, working through their own business issues. So things like this, real life data, real life experiences that you've shared is super, super valuable. The other thing that people find it valuable with these interviews too, Brandon, is just if they have a question. Some people come to these interviews and they're looking, like I said, for a product or a service. Others are just looking to build their own network and have some mentors and those types of things. And you've shared a little bit about that before, but is there a way that people could get to know you better, or some place that they can go to get more information about the product, about you, or if they want to reach out in some way, what would be a good way for them to do that?
Yeah, if they would like to get to know about the product, and if they maybe they're happen to be in the mortgage industry and they want to check it out, it's just
Mhm.
simply www.lo-net.com. Um, and LO is literally for loan officers, a real play on words, right? So lownet.com. Um, or my LinkedIn, Brandon Olson on my LinkedIn, or simply my phone does ring all day. I have two phones. I have my work phone and whatnot. So work phones is 612-437-9567. If people want to talk to me, I love building those connections. You never know who you're going to meet. And I think I talked to you earlier about it is like, some of the best people in my company are literally from just networking and saying, hey,
Yeah.
and I've gone to people before, to other of my business friends, and like, hey, do you know someone that does this? Or, and they're like, hey, talk to this person or this person. And, next thing you know, you have this good connection. And if they're a good fit, the big thing that I don't do a traditional interview. Because my thing, I used to do interviews when I was in the car business when we are hiring salespeople, and they can say one thing on paper and they could come in and have this great interview. Yeah, I want to see that, but I want to have a couple hour dinner with somebody and
Mhm.
then talk and laugh. And, I'm all about being a good leader and understanding being there's plenty of faults and probably in my leadership sometimes, but understanding people is not one of them. And when you have the people going in the same direction as you and all aligned, that's the best, right? That's super hard to do. The bigger you get, the harder it becomes. But learning how to really interact with those people that you're going to be, specifically in a startup, if they're in a startup situation, you have to have that mentality that, hey, man, we got to wear a bunch of different hats. We're not always going to get along. We're going to have, and I want some pushback, and don't be scared to push back. At the same time, we have to get this stuff done, right? So and that's something that, some people are just natural leaders. Some people are not. Some people have to grow into it. I like one of the books that I've always read. It's called Multipliers. I don't know if you've read that.
Yep.
Amazing book, and really teaching your crew how to multiply themselves with the people below them, right? Not just show them how to do it, but also let them learn and be able to do the same thing to the people below them.
That's good. Really good. Super. Well, terrific. Well, this was a really great conversation. I love it because I got to know you a little bit deeper, but also learn more about your business and how I can refer people to you. And my hope is that those that are watching this do take you up on your invitation, because that was a really open invitation. So thank you for being so transparent with how to reach you. And I hope people do, for both the product as well as just to expand on some of those relationship things that you said are so important to you. So anyway, I appreciate you being on the show. So thank you for that. And any last points, any last comments that you think would be helpful for anyone?
Well, first and foremost, again, thank you, Marty, for having me on the show and the opportunity. As we are literally, this is end of July and we're looking at launching our company in literally weeks, which has been forever for me. So I'm looking forward to get the press releases out and get some other things. So this was a nice actual time to have this conversation. But as far as other people out there, I think one of the biggest things is just do it. Do this, be Nike, just do it. If you have an idea, mine started with a simple PowerPoint that I took to other loan officers saying, hey, what do you think of this idea? And granted, it wasn't the same idea. It wasn't, we no longer are going to do that. We pivoted, but I got four great minds in the room. And then we just started building, and we incorporated like 6 months after I built my first PowerPoint. So you get out there and you just do it, but there is, no rest for the wicked, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So you have to be prepared mentally, emotionally, physically, that this stuff can be demanding, but if you have that desire, go for it.
Well, those are really good pieces of advice. And the action piece, goals without action are nothing but a dream, right? And
100%.
we like to tell people it's all comes down to consistent, intentional action. Those are the CIA that we like to be able to quote. And so, fantastic. Well, Brandon, thanks for being on the show. Again, everyone else, please take him up on the offer to get to know him in those three different ways that he shared. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Business Owner Spotlight interview in the next few days. So thanks again for joining us. This is Marty from Action Coach, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.